Hello, I'm Natalina, and today we're going to make this digital drawing into a painting. So first of all, we start with base. Now, I usually trace it on paper, then kind of make it into a puzzle, and then I scribble on the other side. I put it on the canvas, I stick it onto the canvas, and then I go over with another pencil in a way that I can see where I have actually done it, and you can see how it transfers to the canvas. So you just do all of that. It's not going to look perfect, so then you go over it again with a pencil, and it should look like this. Then you take a water-based marker, for example, and you trace it. Now I usually use a color that is similar to the base color that I'm going to put, which is just a random color or the overall vibe that I'm getting of the painting. In this case it is purple, because this painting is going to be really purple, as you had already seen on the digital draft. Now I put on acrylics, mainly because then I can do the base colors on the same day, as it dries quite fast. I water it down a lot so that I can still see the sketch, but later you will see that I will go over it again because I could barely see quite a few things. So now on to part 2, which are base colors. Here you can see that I made another layer with the marker, and now we are on the oils. So usually when I start with those, because I studied for like 3 months oil paint, my teacher said just put the base on and then you start getting on some lights, some shadows, but first of all the base. So I usually start with a base a little bit lighter than what I'm going to be using, but not the lightest of it. I still want to go a little bit lighter, but in this case I went a little bit too dark with his skin at the end. I put all of the base tones. I tried to kind of like divide everything so that I can see a really clear line between the lilacs and his suit, as they are really similar tones, at least for now. Here I started with his suit, which is this really white basic one, and then a purple suit on top of it. I also, in my original digital version, I made the bow tie really dark, but I decided to go a little bit lighter so that it looked a little bit more like the lilacs, and that was actually a really good idea. Now you will see me here with the suit. I'm just trying to block in absolutely everything, that's why you will see that the button on his suit is a little bit darker, and I painted it beforehand. Here I'm putting in some green, and if you can actually see it, the main focus of attention right now is the hair and the green, because they are so different. But because you're looking at them at the same time, you're looking actually at the thing that is in between them, which are the lilacs. And that was a happy accident. Now on to part 3, which is starting to get the shapes and shadows and lights into everything. Here you can see the tie, and here I actually used more blue for the shadows of the suit. You can see how I'm starting to work on every single shape, kind of like a puzzle, and connecting every single piece. The suit was probably one of the most interesting things, because at this point it looks really shiny, kind of like velvety, but then it will look a little bit better as it goes on. A little bit more like fabric, like thick fabric. Here I was actually realizing that I was losing his face, and I shouldn't have done that, because I completely misunderstood his face at this point when I sketched, because I couldn't see it. And also the fingers are kind of okay. They look a little bit like he broke a finger, but that's okay. That's fixable. The face wasn't fixable, I didn't realize that until a lot later, and I will show you why when we get there. Here I used really interesting colors actually. They were really saturated and really orange, and that was not the idea, so I had to change it. Then I used the same colors for the hands as for the face, because I mean it's the same skin tone. And I'm kind of putting shadows, the lips, and working on the hands. I kind of work from like random things. That's something that I got from my art teacher, which is just do everything at once. But I don't really do everything at once. I kind of do from back to front, or sometimes from front to back, or whatever I'm feeling. But I always tend to kind of remember his words, which is, your art should look like you can just stop doing it and it will still look great. It should look balanced every single time. So that's what I usually try to do, not in the lilacs. Then I take a break to show you how you can make these like lilac-y petals. These are not really detailed. Later you will see how I make them more detailed. Now on to part 4, which are fixing the shapes. Because let me tell you, I had to fix a lot of things. I started with the stem as I thought it was going to be the easiest one, because I just had to do flowers and stems and all of that green stuff, and I actually had to buy lemon yellow, because after doing this stem I ran out of lemon yellow, so I had to go grab one, which was a bigger one. Here you can see I had made a little bit of lilacs as well, and I just made that leaf, and it actually looks really good. It kind of looks like the other one, which is just on the other side and underneath it, that goes over the finger. I really like that. It gives it a little bit more of bushiness. And here I started with the face. The face was a really big problem, because the model that I had a really round face, and I was seeing none of him on the face that I made. His eyes were big, this guy's eyes on the painting were small, his nose was a different shape. I had a lot of problems with his face. The suit was kind of okay, now I'm kind of fixing it so it doesn't look as shiny. I'm kind of giving it a thin coat almost everywhere that I feel like it's too shiny. Then I'm doing the hair right here. For hair, specifically really dark hair, I just do the shines and let everything else to the imagination of the viewer. Because that dark hair isn't all that difficult, I think it's a little bit easier, as there's not a lot of color variation, at least for me. Maybe I'm a little bit blind, who knows. Here I'm fixing his fingers, his face. I'm trying to fix his nose right here. And I had a lot of problems, because you can see there's no face. He looks a little bit like Voldemort at this point. There's no nose, it's not defined. But I decided to just let it dry, and later I will fix it. Here I'm fixing the hairline. And now this day, I took my digital sketch, I put it on him, and I tried to fix him. Here you can see he's going to have a really big transformation. He's going to have a glow up, actually. He's going to look a little bit weird, but not too weird. Here you can see before this day, during this day, and then when I finished fixing his face. And you can see such a big difference in his face. He looks a little bit more like the digital version. He doesn't look exactly like the digital version, but it's at least better than what we had. I'm kind of now fixing his lips, or at least trying, because I didn't realize that they were crooked at this point. But later you will see that I realized. I'm also putting on some shines. And everything that I did for this mouth was useless later on, because I realized that it was lower on the, what is this, the left side. So it was absolutely useless. Here I'm fixing his hair, his eyebrows, which I will also later fix more, and I fixed it off camera because I was really trying to get his face right. So you will see now when we jump to the next video that his face looks completely different. The next step for me was to sand it a little bit because I used a stamp for painting the flowers, so let's see that. Now on to part 5. I made a stamp to do the lilacs because I was thinking, how am I going to do probably like 2 million flowers, because I did 5 layers of flowers in a way that they would look perfect each and every single time, because by hand that was going to be a nightmare. So I remember this video by Shinoshi where he did these stamps with erasers, and I had a big eraser. It's not that big anymore because I took a part of it and made this kind of like flowery stamp and started putting it. And let me tell you, if I haven't sanded it before, I would have had a lot of problems because the stamp wouldn't be all that perfect. I still had to fix a lot of flowers, but they were probably like 20 or 30 and not a million. And I also was really, it was kind of like therapeutic doing these lilacs, because you were just put on a little layer of paint, stick it onto the canvas, wait for like 2 seconds, take it out, see if it needs fixing. If it doesn't, move on. If it does, it was going to be just to fix one of the petals and not the whole flower. So while I was doing this, I had to be really thoughtful of where I stamp. And at first I started from the bottom up of the lilacs and then from the upper part lower because it looks better. And now we're on to the last day, where I literally fixed his face because we sanded it and I sanded a little bit of it by mistake. Then we are fixing the background because I painted the sides and the paint went a little bit to the front part. And then we are making a little bit of shines on the buttons and fixing everything. And this is how he ended up looking. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.